Hello, brother teacher, once again. You know, uh, every time a black man brings up the issue of race, the white community, maybe not by and large, but many people from the white community have a tendency to respond that we are too sensitive, or we should forget about our past and the things that have happened to our ancestors here on this continent called North America. And they say that a lot of times that we're delusional as it relates to prejudice in America as it relates to blacks and whites and discrimination. Well, if you're not in our skin, perhaps you can't see it the way we see it because we live it every day. Ever since the so-called abolishment of slavery in 1865, slavery has still existed. It's just done differently. It is just not so overt anymore. It's done covertly. It's done economically. And anyone with any fifth grade education should understand this if you really have a need to know. So I say that to say this: as far as blacks still being disenfranchised in America, not to mention the world, but in America, more respectfully, what I'm talking about right now. I was profiled by the police myself. So, do police still profile? You had better believe they still do profile black men and women and teenagers. This happened well over a decade ago. I was driving in what they call an old school vehicle, a deuce and a quarter. Back in the day, they called it an old style car, historical car, if you will, big body, taking a coworker to work, and my license was suspended, and I did not know it. I won't go into all of the details of what occurred, but I'll tell you this: as I was driving, I was taking my coworker to work, and I saw a police officer car in the lane beside me on the right. Then I saw them pull over behind me, and they followed me all the way into the parking lot where my coworker had worked at. When I say coworker, we work for the same organization, but I was off that particular day, and so I was taking them to work. But anyway, they pulled all the way into the parking lot and then turned their lights on. And so the police officer got out, approached me on the driver's side, and said that I had a tail light out. Go figure. That's the excuse they always use. I had a tail light out. Come to find out, I did not have a tail light out. But anyway, he asked to see my driver's license. And then, once I surrendered that driver's license to him, he said, "I'll be right back." He walked to the car. He came back and he said, "Your license is suspended." And I said, "Are you serious?" And he said, "Yes." He said, "Would you step out of the car?" And I stepped out of the vehicle, and he said, "You're under arrest." And I said again, "Are you serious?" He said, "Yes, I am. Your license is suspended, and so you're under arrest." So I was arrested. My co-worker got out of the vehicle and went on to work. He placed me in the back of his vehicle, and then another police car came up into the lot that was from a different police department, and the guy opened the trunk of my car, and he began to search through all of my bags, and I had a lot of receipts and some bags in the back of my trunk, as if I was a drug dealer. And this went on for about 15 minutes, them searching my car inside and out. Mind you, I did not give them consent to search my car. And so he looked under my front seat, and he found a pair of nunchakus, which are karate weapons, Okinawan, and I'm a martial arts instructor. And I told him that. I said, those are my martial arts sticks. I study martial arts, and I teach martial arts. And so he held them up at the end and dropped them into a bag as if they were Exhibit A or something, as if I had committed a capital crime. So anyway, I had to spend the night in the jailhouse. I had to sleep on a concrete floor with the air conditioning blaring. It was freezing in there, with about a dozen other men. Most of them were drunks or alcoholics, sleeping it off that night. And so I'm sleeping in there on the floor. Didn't have a pillow, so I took my shoes off and used my shoes as a pillow while I was lying there. And had to meet the judge the next day. And it was a white judge, and we spoke to him on a monitor in some room. And he told me about the charges, and he said that I was carrying a concealed weapon in the nunchakus, that is. And I told him I was a martial arts instructor and so forth. He said, well, I should have had them on the dash in plain sight. He said, but they were a concealed weapon. And so he told me what the charge was, you know, driving on suspension and so on and so forth. So he told me how much it cost. He said, are you able to pay this? And I told him I would have it today. And so I was released, and I paid for not only my car being towed, the time that it was on the premises, or in the tow lot, if you will, and I also had to pay the court costs and whatever the fine was. And come to find out that it was my job's fault that I was arrested. And I'll leave it at that. But anyway, there were several other people who were being seen by the judge that same morning, and they all had charges of some sort. And he would tell them what the charge was, and then he asked them, were they able to pay today? And when anyone would say that they were not able to pay, he would say, well, when would you be able to pay? And then they would tell him. And then they would process them somewhere else, or send them to a payment window or what have you. And anyone that could not pay it would spend the night in jail until they was able to pay for it. So can you say racketeering 101? But anyway, getting back to when I was originally pulled over by the police. Understand this, and this is true. This is a fact. When that police officer pulled over behind me as I was driving, he didn't see a broken tail light or a light that was out. He ran my license plate on the back of my car, and it came up on his screen in his system and in his computer that my license was suspended. He knew before he even pulled me over. He followed me in the parking lot. He already knew that my license was suspended from him running my tags. And when he asked for my driver's license, he really didn't need to see the driver's license, because he handed it back to me after he asked for it. And he never kept it. So he saw a black man driving a black woman to work in a deuce and a quarter vehicle, an old body car that they stereotypically like to pull black men over for driving in those big cars. But anyway, he saw that, and he decided, I've got another black man that I'm going to arrest today. So my question to you is this: why is it in a society that's supposed to be the land of the free, a society that police officers are supposed to protect and serve, why are police officers just, especially whites, that's what I'm pointing out, white police officers, why do they inadvertently pick out black men driving down the road, and they scan your driver's plate in the back, or your license, your driver's license in the back, or your tags? Why do they scan your tags to see if you're wanted for something and then arrest you? Who gives them the right, and what gives them the right to scan driver's plates or license plates. Why do they do this? I'll tell you why. Number one, it's to bring revenue into the city or the township in which they serve. It's to bring revenue or raise money for that township or that county. It's all about the money, ladies and gentlemen. And as I forestated when I mentioned the people who were in court with the judge, it was all about the money. They were not going to jail as long as they paid the fine. So here's the question. If a real crime had occurred, if the law had really been broken, then why is paying a fine enough? Why don't you keep that individual locked up if they actually did break a law? They didn't break a law. They broke a policy. They broke a statute. And policies and statutes are not the law. So think on these things and let me know what you think about this situation and those that are similar, even if they have occurred to you in your own lives. I'm interested in knowing. This is Brother Teacher. I'm out.